Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the #1 ranked Terran player in the blue. It's the man, the myth, the Maru. Up against the player ranked #1 in the world by Dark. The final boss. It's Dark. A best of 5 Terran versus Zerg showdown between the top two from Korea. Always entertaining and already starting things off with a 2-Rax Reaper Maru, not giving me very much time at all to beg you for likes. And if you haven't made it there yet, subscribes. And Jimmy, what are we? 1,336 likes. Almost there. On this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get a little bit better than the life of that first drone already taken out by the Reapers. Maru and Dark have made for some of the most entertaining games in the history of StarCraft 2 individually, but together, even more so. Maru with just a different flavor of Terran than Dark's normal nemesis Beyond. A bit more well-rounded, less of a sharp edge on the aggression, but more of a sort of momentum that will eventually just batter you down. And he really knows how to use it. Dark with an entirely different style of Zerg than you might find from the Accountant, the Finisher, and the Goat, Zerl. Dark, instead of just playing Zerg perfectly, Zerg tells Dark, or Dark tells Zerg how to play. It feels like so many times, as he just pulls new styles seemingly out of his hatchery and makes them work. But starting things off, the early Reapers keeping control of the situation. They can't keep getting away with it. Calm down, Susan. It's just game 1. I don't... The Reapers, well, here on Crimson Court, very hard for the Queens to maneuver around. Duck decided to take down the mineral wall to expand to the side, which makes it a little easier to control the situation. But generally, this map makes it very difficult for Zerg to defend multiple bases simultaneously. Between the rocks, the cliffs, the siege tank locations, the best defense is a very good offense. But already 7 Overlords at a time on the way for Dark. I think he may have some Amnesia Lords here. The classic strat for Amnesia Lords, where you start your Overlords because you're supply blocked, and then by the time they're about to finish, you realize, oh my god, I'm still supply blocked, and build some more. But he does have a lot of production coming through either way. Not too big of a deal. Unlike the drones continuing to die. And then he just walks across with 5 Marines. He doesn't get the Overlord, surprisingly. Oh, but there's another Overlord. A bit of a overripe tomato cherry on top. And down it goes. Brenda bounced over to the side. And the Queens will have to crawl their way back to... stoically stroll their way back to the creep. As Maru just gets away with the murder of several more units. Already starting things off strongly. The 1-1, oh my god. The Evo chambers are not even done for Dark. Maru is about to finish 1-1. He's going to be nearly a full upgrade ahead. And Terran and Zerg upgrades take the exact same amount of time to complete. So pretty easy to measure there. Especially he's already getting the armory. So Maru off to a commanding start infrastructure-wise, though Dark has found a little more space to get that creep. Oh my god, the Reapers are still going. A little more space, not too much to get the creep sprag going. Taking down the rocks to the side, which have been mercifully trimmed down from 6 to 4 to just 2 rocks blocking them now. As erosion is quite a thing via balance patch. Infantry weapons, level 1. Complete. And the armory is next up on the agenda. And that means Maru can be starting 2-2 and have nearly a 2-minute advantage over Dark, who's thinking about Mutas. A Spire in production at the 3rd. Somewhere it's unlikely to be scouted, but the double drop already on the 4th base. Dark had to have anticipated this, but he doesn't actually have... There's only 13 Zerglings right now. The Queens are good, but these are 1-1 Marines. They are easily going to cut down multiple Overlords. Dark not going to be supply blocked. He built plenty of Ovies earlier. And losing the 4th base means everything else is slowed down. This is going to be a very larva heavy army composition. That's a lot of the time the limiting factor. It's not so much how much money you can get as Zerg, it's how much you can spend. Much the same way it's so important. Oh no, and he... Well, Maru helping him out with that by just taking out the base before it could even be canceled. Banelings aren't even getting close to touching the Marines here. The restraining order enforced by high-velocity bullets. And, well, Maru keeping full control of game number 1. Do you need a ref? Dark needs a ref. He's like, is he allowed to do that? Is he allowed to just get away with this? Yes. Yes, he is. So maybe there were some other issues. But we don't pause for anyone. We do it live. Like and subscribe. Mutas on the way. But mutas are not great as a defensive tool. Though Dark may be forced into that role. As the medevacs are not stopping. The drop will continue. More Overlords forced to be produced as Maru has picked off a surprising amount of them so far. He's got, what, 7? And just almost a inexcusable amount of Overlords taken down. 2 or 3 maybe, but 7? That is far more than to be expected. The mutas are spotted, so Maru has some warning. He already has plenty at home. Gonna lose one of the medevacs. Another one trickling out the Marines. A stopgap to get defenses back at home. And now, Dark, 10 mutas on the way. The biggest weakness of mutas is how weak they are. It's pretty direct. They're flying paperweights that get shredded easily. But in order to fly so quickly and heal so quickly, they have to be. So the turret comes up at the last possible second. A couple Marines or a couple SCVs going to be picked off as the Marines take their time moving on over to the third. So Dark will retain the initiative for now. Even despite seeing the mutas, Maru somewhat underprepared for dealing with them. His supply is actually quite low in the grand scheme of things. There's one siege tank on the high ground. And, oh, nice little split on the Bane. Oh, beautifully done by Dark. Just that little maneuvering with the Banelings in order to minimize the tank damage. It ends up getting 16 SCV kills. That is, as we say in the business, terrible, terrible damage. Especially considering Maru should have had all the warning he needed to deal with both the mutas and the Banes. So now Dark's up to 180 supply. He's not making the critical mistake that many Mutaling Bane players have in the past, whether by force or just by accident. But instead, he's getting an infestation pit and working his way up to Hive. 2-2 is about to complete. He's not too far behind Maru's upgrades for now, but 3-3 is a long way off considering Hive hasn't even started. Widow Mines, though, on the way, and the closer Maru gets to a maxed out army, the harder it's going to be for Dark to take any sort of productive fight. But the creep is more than halfway across the map, and Maru has been on the defensive. He hasn't really... did he just get up to 8 racks? It looks like he went for the 2-factory variation of the build. At least of the TVZ style we've been seeing lately. Which works out well against the mutas, but means that your supply doesn't climb nearly as fast as the 8 racks variation that players like Oliveira have been favoring more recently. Numbers, they matter. Well, here we go. Mutas, Lings, and Banes up to the high ground. It's as good as it's ever going to get for Dark, but he clumped up. The Thor getting big volleys off onto the mutas. Crashes through the planetary. Objective complete. Pulls back with everything he can. Refills with 74 more Zerglings. And Dark has smashed the fort. But now the counterattack is on the way. Honestly, I thought Maru was in pole position to just grind through and make this a real one-sided game. But Dark has slipped it away from him. And if he can survive one onslaught here, he'll have the Hive Tech done. And he should have Vipers and Adrenal Glands by the time another fight happens. But he's got to survive this first assault. The Widow Mines gonna take big bites, but they cut both ways. Oh, mediocre engagement there. As Dark not able to get too far into the Terran army. Maru now pulling back, though. The Widow Mine's dangerous to both sides. Muta's on top. There's just one Thor. He picks it up, drops it down. That one Thor micro may save Maru. That one Thor made all the difference. It has 17 kills, but the damage it dealt to the mutas. If it had gone down, the mutas and the Lings could have overrun the rest of the army. But the Thor is what the entire army revolves around and holds it down for now. The hammer is ready to drop. In 1 minute and 30 seconds, 10,000 minerals of Dark's army and 3,000 gas have been killed. The hero Thor, pulled back by the medevac, and dies to a Bane unceremoniously. And that may be enough for Dark to push this back, but those are 3-3 Marines and Marauders. The medevacs pull back, Widow Mines fire off, Baneling still closing in, but the creep spread has receded. The Queens once again pulled into the fray, and the Bio army will hunt some of them down, try to target down more. Overseer over the top, Maru retargets the Widow Mine, and that's just too much. Dark tried to drag the Widow Mine in, but I am reasonably sure we saw Maru retarget there in order to avoid that friendly fire damage. But that game, definitely not exactly how I expected it to go, but does end up at the somewhat expected conclusion. So, the Widow Mine is triggering, and he retargets it onto a Muta. Now, was this going to be, if the Widow Mine hits, does the game change right there? Probably not. Marus has the momentum, he rebuilt the 4th, but I think the change to the Widow Mine to make it more visible, great for us as spectators, and we've been seeing this more and more, that it's not just easier to avoid, but it's easier to use. So Maru, instead, Dark, in the, oh my god, he even unburrows it at the end. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted by the details, the forest, and the trees here, but Maru with a solid victory in game 1 will allow him to go up 1 game against Dark. But we're just getting started. These two, Maru gets the early momentum, but Dark almost is able to sweep the leg with the mutas. Just not quite enough. Maru's upgrades, way too good, I think, in the long run. All right, we're going into Golden Aura for game 2. Jimmy, I said, Golden... If it ain't broke. Wait, is this factory variation? Indeed. So, instead of a 2 Rex build here, we're looking at a very likely to be reactored factory at the front. Occasionally this means cyclones as well. So, whereas for Dark, not a gasless variation. I don't know why I like saying variations. Sounds pretty cool though. Sounds better than saying now sometimes I like flavor. Okay? I like a little flavor, a little spiciness. But we've gotten off. Maybe I'm just hungry for good games. But no.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Overlord dead. No more pervert pillar to look down upon the Terrans. Did he see the factory? Okay, he did. So that's the most relevant info. Obviously, losing an Overlord this early hurts, but he got the most important info and can adjust accordingly. There's no Reaper on the way at all. So Dark will be able to just poke and prod, and he actually has 4 Lings at the front door, which may make it a bit uncomfortable because of the positioning to switch over the add-ons here. But Maru is not until he brought 2 SCVs. Sir, this is private property. We're gonna have to ask you to leave. Except he kind of screwed up the factory, so they come right back in. Oh my. Well, they won't they? I mean, the Zerglings are not gonna commit, but Dark gets a few seconds back. Doesn't make up for the Overlord loss, but emotionally helps a bit. Especially, like, from a position of spite. One of my favorites. Even though it doesn't make up for the loss of the Overlord. It was annoying tomorrow. So, that's a win. It is the Cyclones. Did he fake the stem into... Maru? I think I actually I do. It's been a while since I've really gotten into, I'll admit, since I've no longer been playing as regularly as I did some years ago. The actual details, the specific timings of builds, obviously I still watch a lot of games, and I know what the builds are. But I feel like this tournament, and ever since ESL, the regional championships, really been a lot more focused. I think it's because the current balance patch, with some of the little details, honestly just the nerf to the Widowmine, has kind of re-inspired especially Terrans to be a bit more creative with their style, and not to their detriment so much as increasing the variety of builds we see early. Zergs have as well, but Zerg builds are always like looking at a soup. You've got everything thrown in there, and the sheer amount of queens, or Zerglings, or early upgrades, it still looks like a soup from the outside. So a bit harder to pick out the details. But a Liberator comes into the main completely unexpected. The Queen's nowhere in position. There's no Spore. Liberating 3 drones and forcing the rest away so far, and going to drag the Queens back. The Cyclones commanded attention at the front. Susan, you're in front! Shut up. Liberator, driven back, 4 drones down in total, but look at the worker count. Look at it! 36 to 43. That's the win right there. That means Dark has to do a massive counterattack, and Maru is already preparing for it. Liberator's taken out. Are there enough Ravagers to batter down the front? Or can Maru hold? He's got a 3rd command center on the way. He's got the worker count. Stim is done, but nothing else here. The siege tank sieges, but he's got his own out for it. There's still so many Marines on the field. Sprays out some... Oh my god, how does he do it? He kills 2 medevacs. A critical mistake out of Maru. And Dark may be able to seize upon it and potentially turn what was a very questionable situation directly into a victory. But Maru still has the Marines in a bunker. The tank managed to escape the slaughter. But those 2 medevacs going down has turned this game, again, from Maru with a comfortable lead to something a lot more questionable. I don't know how he lures, like a siren's call, into the corrosive bile. But, again, Dark manages to get exactly what he needs in order to stay in it. And now I think, therefore I am. But also, the 3rd base, the drone count behind it, as soon as he hit them and realized he wasn't going to break through, Dark started adding drones. He's got his lair on the way. 4th base in production. Maru's just sending out medevacs with whatever he can put in them because he knows it's very unlikely that Dark is going to attack on the ground again. There's siege tanks, the bunker's still intact. It's only going to get harder to break that position, so he knows he's safe enough to send out the medevacs. But again, the upgrades are going to be difficult for... Oh my god, he's building 6 barracks at a time. It's going to be 8 barracks here. The Octo Rex is coming online very quickly. Maru has the 3rd command center, the Queens. Drive the medevacs away from the main. Zerglings. Confirming the 3rd. Infestation pit. Maru. Dark on the other hand. Oh wow, just cutting through the Ravagers. Dark likely going straight for Hive with a couple Infestors sprinkled in. As trying to meet this sort of army head-on is not gonna work out for long. He doesn't have a kicker. He has nothing to get the medevac, to hunt down the medevacs, unless he can repeat whatever it is he did with those first 2. There's no Mutas, no Hydras. He's just going to have to play defense until he has enough army to counterattack. There's the Hive immediately. He does have enough resources. He has enough gas for 2 Infestors. There's Baneling speed on the way as well. So we're shifting. This is more of Cyril's recent style, where you use the roaches essentially as a shield and maybe a shield bash a little bit early on if you got the opportunity. And then shift in to the Zerglings and Baneling with Vipers for cover. So the Roachling style. Scan into the main. Sees the hive on the way. There's the 2 infestors. No burrow yet. Maru working on 2-2. Dark still not quite done with 1-1 for melee attack. So that presents an opportunity here. Maru with a whole lot of army supply, but combat shield isn't quite done yet. He doesn't seem to care. His army supply, 1-1 just now finishing for Dark. He desperately needs it. Corrosive Bow takes out 1 tank on the ramp. The split, the stim, combat shield done. Baneling speed seconds away, and seconds matter here. Dark trickling through, might be able to take out another tank. Throws out a fungal. Is there anything to follow it up? Corrosive Bow on top. Able to dodge away, but that's some time without DPS, but it's not enough. GG, Maru, 2-0 so far. That one, we don't need a fancy replay. He had the numbers, and he grinds his way through. Just too much. Dark not able to find any edges here. Has to go back to the spawning pool. Maybe consider making one early. Still, very close. But Maru not crumbling. Not even sure where, well... Dark ended up... That single Liberator was way too much damage. Not so much in drones, but in the amount of time it bought, and threw Dark off. And speaking of spawning pools, as we load into Amphion, we see a spawning pool with gas on the way, and he just started his expansion. So, Dark with the Zerg rush. And I think this is for roaches. That gas timing is significantly late for speed. But you don't just take a gas for the sake of it. Alright, this isn't the Platinum League here. There is a purpose to this, though I'm not sure if it is reliant on scouting or not. Because he hasn't started a roach one yet. The Zerglings are slipping by. The Overlord clearly sees it all. Maru has no Marines with which to push it away this time. Like, did he put it there just to get that 5 seconds faster? Because that may very well end up costing. Maru needs to adjust that barracks. It's too late already. Oh no, the boys are pulled. Surprisingly competent combatants. Kills 1 SCV, looking for more. The Reaper, of course, is forced back. More hectic than the camera work so far. Oh my. The boys handle this just fine. Bunker's on the way. And Dark, he has, it's just speed. Maybe just looking to throw him off. Follow it up with speed, which is a safe bet. He's getting 6 more Lings. Which, there's no reason for this. Except to put fear in Maru's heart. Or, you know, try to kill him. 10 more Lings. Why? Because there wasn't going to be any sort of real threat on the ground. Stop Mass Reaper. It wasn't going to be much in the way of Hellions. So building more Zerglings is either to force a response or outright do damage at this stage. Because he already got into the base and knew when Maru could produce any more things. And the amount of things he can produce is minimal at best. 1 Hellion. He's got 2 Marines in the bunker. But Lings on their own are not going to be enough. You're enough for me. Okay, I didn't mean you. It's okay. Grab your emotional support Zerglings today. It's different. Three Hellions. Now he's finally got the reactor running. An odd start on one of our more creative maps. here, Amphion, where as time goes on, the players expand away from each other, with the notable exception of the left side past the mineral wall, where the air distance is so close. But generally, we see a lot of fights happen between the mined-out main and natural bases, as opposed to on the outward expansions. Overlord, gliding in. Double NG Bay and double Evo. Same times this time. It's time. Showtime. Actually wasn't in this tournament. I'm not sure why. I don't know if he qualified or not. Time, on the other hand, is now called Oliveira. And it's time for me to stop. Hammer time. Melee attacks and infantry weapons as both players are banking up just enough. Really trying to get the edge on the upgrades. Literally within 1 or 2 seconds of each other. Liberator wandering around. And between the Spore and the Queens, yeah, that Liberator should be... It is. More medevacs. More. Wait, how many barracks is that going to be? We're looking at the full 8 racks. No, that's just up to 5 right now. You got that third base and the double NG base so quick. Keep an eye on what happens next, though, in Maru's production tab. Is it going to be more barracks or another factory? Because that will dictate the next few minutes of the game. More barracks means he wants to max out as soon as possible, get damage done before there's even a hint of a hive from Dar. Whereas the factory variation is a bit more long-term. You have actually, you can get drilling claws, you can get more tanks, obviously. Potentially work your way up towards Thors, though I don't think those are going to be needed. So we will see where Maru goes with it. Dark, on the other hand, kind of straight down the center. More hatcheries. Macro hatch indeed. He's got a Baneling nest on the way, lined up with the lair so we can get Baneling speed on time. As we kind of poke and prod. The most even game so far up to this stage, as Maru hasn't been able to get any critical damage, and Dark hasn't really taken any chunks out of Maru either. Delay is the base of the top right corner. Infestation pit now on the way. And a 4th command center is the choice before any additional production out of Maru. So that already is kind of a tell. Making sure he has that economic option. It looks like he wants to take either the center base or the one over to the 9 o'clock position. Which is quite a... Oh my god, he has so many Lings! Dark, just a casual near 100 Lings here. Gonna morph some into Banes. Okay, that's a bit ambitious there. And a second factory. Dark. Looks like a mass Ling Bane challenge game. Though, Hydra's now being added in. No Lurker Den yet. Combat shield. Quite delayed with this sort of style. But he will be getting there. As Maru has no intent on outright fighting until 2-2 is finished. He's just going to run around, keep Dark busy, abuse those medevacs, and make sure that when it comes to a fight, he's in a good enough position to take it. Ideally by limiting the expansions and the creep, so that way Dark can't produce or move around nearly as easily. He's going to go for the mixed gold at the 9 o'clock. We got some Hellbats mixed in. Still. And the double drop to the top right corner cancels the base yet again. Dark limited to 4 base economy. Not much of a limit, but a limit nonetheless, as the main base will start mining out. Right around 8-9 minutes, those smaller patches mine out. Takes a few more, up to 12 or 13 usually. Mules actually... The one downside of mules is how quickly you can drag the minerals out of those patches. which usually means Terrans will mine out slightly quicker in an even money scenario. But now getting all that production online. Dark 50, a casual 50 more Lings in production, which will put him at a cool 160. Not including the Banelings. Dark is staring down 200 Lings of some variety or another. And he's not even maxed. I'm surprised there's no Ultra Cavern on the way. Surround some of the Marines. And a field of Zerglings means they're going to have a tough time getting any more done. 158 Zerglings. 28 Banes. Come on, Dark. Give me the 200. He's got 16 more in production. 9 more Banelings. Gonna have to do a little bit of math on this, but... as long as Maru isn't so cruel as to kill some more for a moment. 160. He's done it. 200 Lings! 202, to be clear, but... Dark. Possibly the most Zerglings I've ever seen in a like, there are a lot of times where it gets close. It is, quote-unquote, only 200 supply, or 100 supply of Lings. But still, rarely do we see such a commitment. And again, Dark overruns the field. The Lings and Banes everywhere. And Maru making, well, still some progress. Well, the thing is, how do you attack as Dark? I was so excited. Oh my god. The hatchery was down to, don't close the door on that hatchery too hard. 13 HP, and that's after healing up for a few seconds. Need to throw a stone over there. Some bullets will work. Takes out the hatch. Yeah, it wasn't gonna happen. But here comes Dark. The full weight of the Zerg crashes through. Blinding cloud on top of the tanks. The other one sieging up within the cloud. Dark is rolling in with a massive amount of Lings and Banes, numbered in the literal hundreds, overrunning the natural. SCVs dying by the dozens. The Zerglings overrunning the tanks. The barracks overrun as well. The add-ons are gone. The third base now targeted. More Lings, more Banes, more darkness encroaches. But a whole bunch of Marines made it back. The reinforcements have arrived. The cavalry's here. And it looks... He denies +3/+3, and for the first time in the series, Dark will have an upgrade advantage, assuming he's able to finish his 3-3 in just about a minute from now. The NG base will have to be rebuilt, but Maru's economy has been gutted. His army has been routed. His bases have been almost entirely cleared, and Maru will have to pick up the pieces and try to turn it around before Dark comes back for more. The fourth base, well, the base to the front, decides to come back to a safer location, because apparently the orbital just died in the midst of that. Maru didn't lift it in time. There was no anti-air from Dark, but there was a lot going on. So, Dark is back at over 100 Zerglings. He went spawning pool first, and he never stopped. 3-3 about to complete. Adrenal glands done, of course. The upgrade's actually pretty... Wow. They both had such a narrow... I think in 4X games, this is called building tall. As neither player has anything but the upgrades exactly for the units they're currently using. We've got Burrow, Adrenal Glands, Ling, and Bane Speed, and 3-3 melee attacking carapace for Dark. Stim, Combat Shield, +2/+2. Infantry weapons, armor, and mech weapons for Maru. But Dark is maxed out again. How many? 146 Zerglings. 30 going on with 15 more Banelings on the way. Blinding cloud onto the tanks. There's quite a tank line, but it's evaporating quickly. The Vipers abduct 1. Zerglings overrun 2 more. This wave will be driven back as Dark has lost 340 Lings, which actually seems pretty low in the grand scheme of things. The reinforcing drops are chasing things down. But Maru holds on. He's got some ghosts on the field, which more designed for the heavier hitting units, but still pretty good against Ling Bane. Banelings onto the planetary. SCV's on the run. He doesn't have many to spare. Maru thought about dropping out, then he thought better of it. But Dark is overrunning another base. Maru down to 40 SCVs. Dark still sitting on 82 drones. But a drop denying another base. Maru keeping the pressure on over to the eastern front, even as the west seems to falter. Dark is going to chase that down. How many Vipers? 3 Vipers on the field. Still 100 Lings. The Vipers looking for the parasitic bombs. Maybe a couple of ducks would be in order. Get the Hydras something to chew on. All right, the Viper's danger. Get over here with all hands. Another one, mercifully empty. But Maru, under the face, and the weight, and the claws, and the toes. Save it for Dronely fans of Dark Zerg. Struggling, but the snipes onto the queens. The Lings come in with a vengeance, but it's just Lings. There's no Banes in here. Until they roll down, the Terrans can stand their ground, but with the Banelings coming down the ramp, he's trying to get another volley of snipes. Does so. The Vipers need to gather some energy for Parasitic Bomb. Dark again dips in supply. He has no larva. He has 0. The limiting factor right now for Dark is he can't produce enough larva to build Zerglings. He has 2,000 minerals in the... Where did this Baneling come from? Oh my... He has 2,000 minerals. He has 7 hatcheries, and he can't get enough larva. And he just lost a bunch of his queens. He's down to 4. So, potentially an opportunity here for Maru, as Dark literally can't rebuild his supply in time. Dark actually needs to rebuild some queens, but I don't think he's really diagnosed the problem yet. Maru's army supply is almost even. He's finished that 3-3, incredibly importantly here, up against this sort of Ling Bane composition. And, well, Dark, another clutch of Zerglings, heading towards the natural. There hasn't been a wall for quite a while here, and with no palisades to bar the way, the Zerglings easily overrun the workers and force him back yet again. And Dark is coming into the 9 o'clock base as well. Parasitic Bomb onto the Medivacs. EMP way too late to do anything about it. As Maru is still on tenuous footing, but holding on. Overall, Dark needs those queens back, or more hatcheries or something, to close this out. Oh my god, what he doesn't need is to be jammed into the Reaper Cliff location. The ghosts starting to build up now. If Maru can keep enough of them alive, well, we've seen that story before. He needs to cancel StarCraft Ghost before it gets started. Alright, so Dark gonna do his best Blizzard impression here and crush the base again. More SCVs. Maru not even running. I think Maru's focused entirely on the fight. At this point, he's given up. The economy's gone. It's just this army. Maru is effectively base trading, but that implies it's a trade at all. He's able to take 1. He loses 49 SCVs. Dark is building lurkers now. He's on the run. Dark realizing that Maru, it's just this bio ball rolling through. Banelings. Dark, at this point, he's gutted all of... Maru doesn't have an economy anymore. He can't rebuild. It's just this army. The Viper is in a precarious position at the front. +2 missile attacks is about to complete. And the buildings are in flight. Maru is on the run. His last army into the natural. 11 lurkers in production for Dark, who, to Maru's credit, Dark is not maxed. Despite everything, there is still a whisper of a chance, but the problem is, there's no detection. He has no orbitals landed, not even a hope of a Raven. So 11 lurkers are an absolutely uncounterable force, as long as they're burrowed. He's going to need to land the orbital in the midst of the field on the edge of the creep in order to scan it off. The ghosts get a volley of snipes, get a couple lurkers, but it's not enough. Dark strikes back. 600 Zerglings dead. But Maru taken down. What a game. And we saw the 200 Lings. Dark finds his groove there. And Maru had to play defense pretty much the entire time once it started. That wave defense Zerg. Like watching direct strike. Well, Dark is all about directly striking. Well, good to see that the final boss is still around. He's been enraged. But Maru maintains a 2-1 lead. As that's how it works. No matter how dramatic the games, it still only counts as one. And it's going to be the 3-per opener yet again. On Site Delta. That's how you play Zerg. I think Maru changed up his style a bit for the map as well. Maru went for the 4 bases. He went for, even before the production, he never really got out on the map before Dark was already essentially maxed out on Zerglings, which was a marked difference from the other games, where he focused on getting that production up and putting the pressure on, ideally before Dark could really do anything about it. The old adage is still true. You don't want to let the Zerg grow out of control. You don't want to let the creep tumors metastasize. You don't want to let the Zergling count build up into the literal hundreds. Found the drone. We tried to hide it from the Reapers, but Maru knows that's a very common tactic. Site Delta, about as cookie cutter standard as maps go. You've got your options for 3rd bases, which leaves a relatively defensible 4th, and then things get a bit more difficult from there. Looks like a 3-2-1-1 out of Maru. With 3 command centers, 2 barracks, a factory, and I'm going to go ahead and take a wild guess at a starport. But double engineering bay as well. Wait, I take it back. Well, it's not quite. This is full greed Terran. Technically 2 barracks, factory, and soon to be a starport, but instead, he's going for double engineering bay to invest that gas in early. Maru. Thank you. And then using Hellion Reaper to keep control of the situation, which is more efficient early on than just having Marines, because you can't, barring some very specific scenarios at the beginning of the series, you can't just walk out with the first Marines and expect to get anything done. Whereas Hellions, for the same price, or for comparable price, definitely have a lot more opportunity maneuverability. That's kind of their whole point. As they poke and prod and take out some creep tumors, and Dark tries to swing into the natural, not going to happen. Maru knows how to shut the door. Hellion still threatening. One is on the way, and again, Maru's going to have a significant edge on the upgrades. I feel like that was the defining characteristic of the previous game, where Dark for once was able to keep up and actually pull ahead, if by killing the engineering base, but still that counts on the upgrades. It is so important in Terran versus Zerg because these units do damage so fast, especially Marines. Even having 1 more damage on those Marines, it adds up very quickly. And the armor upgrade helps a lot with being a little bit less that needs to be healed. Doesn't help against the stim, but Zerglings and even Banelings, 1 less damage is 1 less point of health that needs to be healed on each of those attacks. probably more than any other unit in the game, at least conventionally, Marine upgrades are the most important. And that is why so much revolves around those upgrade timings. More important than just stim itself, much of the time. Though, obviously, very important to have it. Here we go. Baneling Nest is not done. Hell bad timing from Maru. Lined up perfectly with starting to, too. And what does Dark actually have? A bunch of queens. Well, critical everyone! The queens all lined up, but the Hellbats. Wow, Maru with a sharp timing here. The queens being hunted down, and Maru giving no quarter, nor nickels, nor dimes. As he's hunting, he's not bothering with the drones. He wants to win right here and right now. And so far, it looks like he's yes! Wow. A almost vengeful conclusion. After a dramatic game, Maru looks to remove all doubt as he executes Dark with an incredibly sharp timing, guillotining the queens and claiming the series 3-1. Once Dark gets the ball rolling, well, you can almost be sure he's going to score, but Maru made sure to just take it away from him more times than not. Still, I think quite a great display of the best parts of these two players. Unfortunately, Dark coming up a little short here, but Maru, a decisive victory that I hope made your day a little bit better. And if you got the means and motivation, be awesome. If you could check out Patreon or YouTube membership, but I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. And if you haven't yet seen the second channel here on YouTube, Winter Gaming, where we have streams, more content, you got more hours in the day. I'm not here to judge. Thank you for watching. And I hope I made your day a little bit better. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.